FOMO.
My name is Patrick J. McGinnis, and I'm a FOMO Sapiens. And since you're here, I'm going to bet that you are too. And when you're like us and Monday comes around, you don't dread the new week. No, you wake up every Monday morning knowing that this week might just be the best one yet. This is FOMOnday, the snackable show that starts your week right with hot takes, life hacks, listener mail, and even some FOMO therapy. Hello and welcome to another episode of FOMOndays, the snackable companion to FOMO Sapiens, which of course will be back on Thursday with a new episode. We are still rolling along, and this season theme being how to crush it without getting crushed, as you will recall. And on Thursday, I have just the beginning of two very special episodes, a double episode with Tristan and Jordan Mace. Tristan is a friend of mine. He's a venture capitalist, entrepreneur, very successful, amazing guy who at the age of 31 went into the hospital with what he thought was the flu, and within a couple of days had a heart transplant. And it has set him off on a journey with his wife to actually fix the transplant system in the United States. It's an incredible story. So we will be talking with them because you can't fit it into one episode, this story. It's really extraordinary. Now on Thursday, of course, last Thursday, we had Jerry Colonna on the show. He's a coach, a very esteemed coach. He's also the founder of Reboot, host of the Reboot podcast. And we were doing the interview. Jerry and I were chatting, and he said, have you ever thought of being a coach? You ask really probing questions. And I said, Jerry, how'd you know? I've been working on a coaching business. I hadn't told anybody. And so today I am coming clean with you to tell you about this new business I am building in the coaching space. I just want to tell you all about it. See if you want to get involved in some way or another. Here's the story. About a year ago, was at a Diwali party hosted by Anu Dougal, who's been on this show before, Female Founders Fund. Really fun party. She knows how to throw a party. And I was talking to my friend Mittel, and he said, have you ever thought about coaching? And I said, Mittel, you're the 53rd person to tell me that this year. I've been listening, and in fact, I've been using FOMO Sapiens to learn about the industry and talk to some great coaches. I had folks like Alyssa Cohn, Marshall Goldsmith, Carol Kaufman, folks like that. So yeah, I guess I was sort of looking at the space, but to be totally honest, I've always been a bit skeptical about the whole coaching thing. Why is that? Well, because, anybody can call themselves a coach, really. That means you have great people. You have people that are not so great. You have people who are not very experienced. You have people that are very experienced. It is all over the map. And so, I thought about it, but I was kind of skeptical. What is this all about? Why should I do this? Is this a good idea for me? Do I have the right skill set? Will I enjoy it? Can I build a business? And those kinds of things. So that was the beginning of a process that started a year ago and ends up where we are today, where I tell you about my new company. It is called the X Quotient. You can go check out our website right now, xquotient.io, xquotient.io. Now listen, I just want to be straight up. This isn't the fancy dancy website. This is an interim website that we have going to beta test to make sure we're reaching our audience in the right way with the right messaging. Because entrepreneurs, we got to do it that way. Don't put all your cash into the fancy website until you know that you love what you're saying to folks and that it's resonating. So I'm being very straight up here. Like, I am doing the kind of stuff we talk about on the show myself, and I'm not going to hide it from you or be, shy about it, because that's just sensible. So I will take credit. I built this website myself on Wix. Did get a good design person, Alexandra, to help out with the logo and stuff like that and the colors and all those things. But this website was built by yours truly, along with my two partners, to get something up and going for our early launch. So go check it out. Feedback welcome. Seriously, feedback very welcome. Now, what I want to do today is tell you a little bit about the process I went through to figure out if I wanted to do this and how I wanted to do it and to get ready. So we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, I'm going to tell you the story of the X Quotient.
FOMO. FOMO.
Hey, everybody. I am back to talk about the X Quotient, my new company in the coaching space. So, starting this process a year ago, figuring out, did this make sense for me and how I would do it? I had a lot of questions. I had questions around, first of all, who's good at this and who is not good at this? Coaching, I mean. Who do I admire? Who do I want to be like? Why? How do I want to have my own sort of, put my own stamp on the space? Do I want to have partners? Do I want to do solo? Do I want it to be my brand, another brand? What's my focus area? What kind of client do I want to work with? What kind of preparation did I need? All that stuff. So as I said, my friend Mittel approached me at this party and I said, listen, man, let's do this. If you're interested in this, why don't we look at it together? And he said, I am interested. I've actually, I've done coaching. I've coached C-suite of a unicorn and other stuff like that. So I said, okay, let us look at this industry together and figure out if and how we should engage. And so that began a process. And really, I've got to tell you, the reason why I was interested, beyond the fact that so many people had told me you should be coaching, is that I've done so much of this work over the years. I've been a board member, I've been an advisor, I've done so much of this kind of work with companies, worked inside of companies doing this. Obviously, the podcast has elements of coaching. And so I thought, this is something I clearly enjoy and I have a capacity for. But I also knew that, coaching is different than just advising people. It's a whole different skill. It requires some different kinds of skills and a different approach. And so I started looking into like training. I just didn't know. I was very open-minded. Now, as I did this, I started talking to other people who were coaches. And I met this gentleman called Matt, who has a firm called Inflection Point Partners. He came on the show too, actually. And Matt gave me some advice. He said, there's this great program at Columbia University. He did that program. You should consider doing it. So I said, you know what? It's a real investment. It's not cheap, but I want to get training from the best. And so I ended up signing up. And in May, I went and took the course. And for me, that was kind of a crucible moment because it was sort of like, will I learn stuff that is valuable, that helps me on my path? And thankfully, I did. And my two kind of big questions going in were, number one, what is different between what I do today and what a coach does? Like, how do I kind of build those skills? And number two, how do I do it my way? What is the way to leverage all the work I've done, whether it's the books I've written, having the podcast, my experience as an investor, entrepreneur, all that stuff. How do I bring that into the mix in a way that's of service to somebody, that helps them out? And I didn't quite know, to be honest. So anyway, did that program, very intense, very cool, amazing people. And I learned a lot of tools. I learned the differences between coaching and advising. I learned how to bring my own style in. And then I started talking with the two people who would become my partners, Mittel and Danielle, about, what could this look like if we were to ever do this? And we started formulating this plan. And the plan became this idea that it's really important these days to balance ideas, emotional intelligence, and mental health and wellness. And that if you don't have all three of those things, big thinking, emotional regulation, and mental health and wellness, and physical health as well, you're not going to be able to have sustained peak performance. And so we started thinking about that, and along this notion of how can we actually measure these things along quotients like IQ, EQ, HQ. That's what we came up with. And IQ is sort of like growth mindset, fluid reasoning, decision-making, all kinds of stuff, like the stuff that I super love and talk about on this show all the time, right? Decision-making. I love decision-making. It's my favorite thing. Number two, the EQ, it's like, how do we deal with other people, with teams? How do we approach people with empathy to build resilience in ourselves and our teams? All that kind of stuff that's so critical. And then the HQ, as you've noticed, I started to talk more about that stuff on the show, right, over the years. Whether it's talking with folks who are in the mental health and wellness space, or just doing kind of the interesting stuff like hypnotism and breath work and all that sort of stuff that I love to dabble in. And so taking those three together, each of those quotients, our idea is to basically work with people to figure out their goals and then measure along these quotients, their progress and their goals. Set goals along these things. So like you don't just focus on, I'm going to just win all the time in work and make the most money, but also like, how do we do that, but also take care of ourselves and the people around us? So those quotients, IQ, EQ, HQ, for every client, we will come up with a plan so that we can solve for X, your X, which is sustained peak performance. And that's why we call the business the X quotient, because that's what we're going to measure in the end. That's the real big goal. So that is the idea. And I'm super stoked about it. Now you can read all about this because I'm not giving you all of it because, you only have so many hours in your day. I don't want to take up all your time. But if you go to xquotient.io, you can see the beautiful website I made with my very own hands and with my partners. And we talk about how we describe all of this stuff. So that is really exciting news. I want to put it out there to you. We'll be doing more formal launches later on, but I just want to put it out there because, believe it or not, I have already gotten coaching clients through this podcast. Some of you have reached out and said, hey, I'm looking for a coach. And I said, well, listen, good news. I'm in business. And so I have worked with folks and it's been awesome, actually. First of all, I love meeting you FOMO Sapiens, and then trying to help you through big decisions or set goals or anything that you need help with. Believe me, I find it extremely gratifying and we make real progress. So I found that very much, for me, just it sort of supports all of the theses that I had getting into this space. And so that's what I want to build. And the great news about this, of course, and we can talk about this more in the future, is this is a wonderful industry because you help people, because you can work all over the world, multi-language, and the world is so big. And because right now, there's so much pressure put on all of us to succeed. You don't have to do it alone. And in fact, I had never really been coached before, and now I have been coached. I love it. I mean, I want to get coached all day long. If I could just spend my days getting coached, I probably wouldn't leave my house. All right, so that is the story. Super psyched about it. Would love your feedback. Love your feedback. Seriously. Anything you want to tell me about the website, about what I said today, about your thoughts. If you want coaching, you can read my bio and the bios of my partners on the website at xquotient.io. If you want coaching, let me tell you something. Doesn't have to be me. Could be one of my partners. Could be somebody else entirely. I just think we should all do this. But just make sure you find somebody who you like. And I think that's the last part, is that one of the things that I really wanted to figure out was how to bring all my experience into this. When you look for a coach, find somebody whose experience is relevant to you. That can really unlock a lot. They need to be able to do the coaching stuff. You can't just have somebody who tells you what to do the whole time. That's not coaching. That's hard because then you don't actually ever have ownership in the stuff you're trying to achieve. But having somebody who understands your industry can be very powerful to unlock progress. All right, everybody, that is the story of the X quotient. You'll be hearing more about this in the future, but I just wanted to get it out there since we talked to Jerry and it's like, it's time. All right, we'll be back on Thursday with Tristan and Jordan. Such a special episode. But until then, take care of yourselves. FOMO Sapiens. FOMO. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Patrick J. McGinnis, on Twitter at PJ McGinnis, and on the web at FOMOSapiens.com or PatrickMcGinnis.com, where you can get all kinds of free resources to live a more decisive and entrepreneurial life. FOMO. Want more FOMO Sapiens and FOMOnday? Head over to FOMOSapiens.com, where you can listen to past episodes, learn more about the show, and find out how to advertise. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Patrick J. McGinnis and on Twitter at PJ McGinnis.